Marcus had been watching his son for 40 minutes when the golden retriever did something that stopped him mid-sentence. He had been on a work call in the kitchen, pacing the way he always paced during calls, and 16-month-old Ezra had been in the living room doing what he always did, moving from surface to surface, investigating everything within reach, with the methodical determination of someone working through a checklist. The dog, a 3-year-old named Cleo, had been on her cushion near the window. Then she was not. Marcus heard her before he saw her, the specific sound of a dog moving with purpose, not the casual patting of a dog changing positions, but a directed movement. He turned from the window, and she was in the hallway that connected the kitchen to the utility room, her nose pressed against the space beneath the door. He said her name. She did not react. He ended the call. The utility room was where the water heater was, where the gas line came in from the street, where the corroded connector he had noticed last spring and intended to have looked at had written on the refrigerator whiteboard as a reminder, and then failed to schedule because the weeks had dissolved into each other, the way weeks do when you are managing a toddler on a single income, and the whiteboard list grows faster than items get crossed off. He had not crossed it off. He had not scheduled the inspection. Cleo was running her nose along the entire perimeter of the utility room door, low to high, the length of it, methodically, with the focused intensity of a dog who has found something she wants very badly to reach. He moved Ezra to his pack and play, secured the latch, and opened the utility room door. He did not smell anything. He stood in the utility room and breathed for 30 seconds, and smelled nothing but the dusty warmth of a small enclosed space and the faint mineral smell of water sitting in pipes. Cleo pressed past him and went immediately to the far corner of the room, where the gas line entered through the wall at floor level and connected to the shutoff valve before running to the water heater. She pressed her nose against the connector junction and held it there. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Marcus called the gas company. He told them he had a dog that was showing unusual interest in his gas line connection. The dispatcher told him they took all reports seriously and someone would be there within 2 hours. She also told him to open windows, avoid using any switches or appliances, and take his family outside. He lifted Ezra out of the pack and play. He carried him outside into the September afternoon. Cleo came out with them and lay in the yard without protest, the way she always lay in the yard. Comfortable, unhurried, apparently done with the urgent part of whatever she had been doing inside. He sat on the back steps with his son in his lap and waited. The gas technician arrived in 40 minutes. He had equipment Marcus did not recognize and a manner of measured efficiency that suggested he had done this many times. He went into the utility room and came back 7 minutes later. He said, corroded fitting on the line connector. He said it had been leaking slowly for a long time at a level below what you can smell without a detector. He said, at the level in that room, if you had been running the appliance continuously in a closed space, you would have reached a detectable concentration in 4 to 6 hours. Marcus asked, so it was real? The technician said, yes. He said, your dog probably has a much lower detection threshold than we do. They often catch these before we can. He said it without particular drama, the way technicians say things they see regularly. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The fitting was replaced that afternoon. The technician walked Marcus through an inspection of the other connections in the house. He left a card for a follow-up inspection in 6 months and recommended Marcus get a natural gas detector for the utility room in the kitchen. Marcus bought the detector that evening. He installed it at floor level, where the technician told him gas concentrations pooled first. He looked at the refrigerator whiteboard and crossed off the item that had been there since spring. Ezra was asleep by 8 o'clock, in his crib in his room, which was at the far end of the house from the utility room. Cleo slept on her cushion near his door. She had started doing this when Ezra came home from the hospital, positioning herself between his room and the rest of the house every night, as though she had a sense of what required watching and what did not. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The gas company sent him a follow-up survey 3 weeks later asking about the service call. One of the questions asked how the issue had been identified. The options were smell, detector alarm, routine inspection, other. He checked other and typed. The dog noticed it. There was no follow-up to the follow-up. He did not expect one. He put the survey in the recycling and sat for a moment at the kitchen table, in the quiet of a house where everything was operating as it should, and thought about Cleo on her cushion by the window, and the specific quality of purpose she had shown moving through that hallway. He had never, before that day, understood that purpose as anything other than loyalty. He understood now that it was also precision, that the two things were not different.